Good morning and welcome back to Coffee with the Callers. I'm Father James Misko along with
Father Doug Jeffers.
And we're here to continue our conversation about the Mass. As you've been watching, we first started by talking about the introductory rites to Mass, taking us through the penitential rite and of course the Gloria, and then the Collect. And then we went on to the Liturgy of the Word, where we talked about the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Psalm, and of course the homily. And now, Father Doug, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today we're talking about the Eucharistic Prayer, the Church's great prayer of thanksgiving, in which bread and wine become the body and blood of Christ, and a perfect sacrifice is
So
offered
this
up
is
to
like
God.
the most important thing that we do. This is the source and summit of our faith. I mean, why do we come to Mass? We come to Mass for the Eucharist. This is it. So we're on holy ground here as we talk about our faith. So Father Doug, tell me what are some of the things you're thinking about in particular that is the most powerful moment for you during the Eucharistic prayer.
Well, you were just saying we're on holy ground in the Eucharistic prayer, and the beginning of that prayer makes that very clear to us with the hymn that we know as the Sanctus, or the Holy, Holy, Holy. It's one of the most moving parts of the Mass to me. It comes right out of the 6th chapter of the book of Isaiah, where the prophet sees this vision of the throne room of heaven, and these angels, the seraphim, worshiping before the face of God. And this is the hymn that they're singing, Holy, Holy, Holy. And we take up the hymn of the angels here on earth. So it reminds us what's going on here. Earth and heaven are coming close together in the Mass.
Beautiful. So when I say Mass, the things that I'm thinking about, clearly the most important are the words of consecration. It's interesting, in the Roman Missal, which is this red book that you see the priest saying Mass out of, pardon me, Padre, I don't want to knock your coffee over. But when you open up and see the Roman Missal here, you go into the Liturgy of the Eucharist, and it's so interesting because, as you can see in here, the most important words are the words that are in all caps. In fact, the validity of the Mass has everything to do with whether or not the priest says these words. And so you'll remember from Mass, he says, "Take this, all of you, and eat of it, for this is my body, which will be given up for you." And it's interesting, in this Roman Missal that you see Father Doug and Father Alberto and myself saying Mass out of, there's also some red writing in there, and those are called rubrics. And the rubrics are the rules for how to say Mass. And so it's interesting, just before the priest says those words of consecration, the rubric says, he bows slightly. So I kind of accentuate this quite a bit when I say Mass, and so you might see me actually hold the host, and then I bow down and I speak into the host. "Take this, all of you, and eat of it, for this is my body." Now, why would I do that? That's kind of a curious thing. Why would that be the rubric at that point during the Mass? Well, it goes back to the idea that when the Word speaks, it happens. If we go all the way back to the beginning, what was the very first thing that happened in the Bible? God said,
Let there be light.
"Let there be light," and there was light. He said, "Let there be the animals and all of the oceans and the mountains," and there they were. And then throughout salvation history, God speaks and it happens. We get to the New Testament. What does the Word do? He goes to Bethany, and in the tomb of Lazarus, he says, "Lazarus, get up." And it's not like Lazarus sits there and says, "Well, what do you mean get up?" Or, "What do you want me to do when I get up?" No, he just gets up. Or he goes to the little girl who has died and he says, "Talitha kaum," and she rises. When the Word speaks, it happens. And so it's no different at Mass, and that's why that rubric is there. This is, I think, the most powerful moment of that Eucharistic prayer, because the second person of the Trinity, the priest is in persona Christi. He's standing in the person of Christ. So it's not like Father Doug or Father James or Father Alberto are the main focus there. It is Christ who is speaking again, the Word, who says, "Take this, all of you, and eat of it, for this is my body, which will be given up for you." And that's when we believe that that bread becomes the body of Christ. So this is just a beautiful, powerful moment during the Mass. And I hope that when you come to Mass on Sunday, you'll be able to recognize that, and it will mean something profound to you as well. So thanks for joining us this morning for our Coffee with the Callers. Father Doug, Where did you get these donuts today?
Oh, well, I discovered them in the refrigerator here in the office.
The refrigerator of the office.
That's right. That's
well,
where
they look
come from.
delicious.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and take a chance on this one right here.
All right.
Thank you for noticing these. So join us next Friday as we continue on Coffee with the Callers with our discussion on the Mass, where Father Doug, we're going to conclude with
The discussion of the communion rite, when what we have offered up to God, the body and blood of Christ, is given by God to us as food, and then when the holy people are sent out into the world.
Great. So once again, thanks for joining us, and join us every Friday morning at 10:30 when on our Facebook and across social media we drop with Coffee with the Callers.